So first up, we got Brendon Dixon. He's a classic Maritimer. Spent time in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. He came to MUN for a girl. He stayed for the affordable education. He's now pursuing poli-sci in history. Second year living in Curtis. He's the youngest guest we've had on the show as of yet. He's been a residence rep since the by-election on MUNSU in November. He's director at large coming up next year. He's been involved in youth parliament, been involved in political campaigns. So, Brendon, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks, Max, for having me here. It's nice to actually talk to radio and person to person. I'm actually so used to talking to them like in a third person sense, so it's nice to have a...
One of these mics is buzzing. I can tell what one it is, or I can't tell what one it is. We're having a, well, it might be yours. One sec. Sorry.
Here?
We've got, no, I can hear it in my headphone. We've got technical difficulties.
So turn one off.
Okay, it's Brendon's mic. So Brendon, this is your mic now, and me and Max are sharing a mic.
Hello, Radio Land, and we're back.
All right.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. This
Nice.
is awful.
So,
Gonna have to let Bob know about that one.
one of them, I guess the main reason why we're having Brendon on the show tonight is because Brendon is fulfilling another role next year on the MUNSU board. He's going to be one of the directors at large, taking on the highly regarded role as director at large. So, Brendon, could you explain to us how you got started with MUNSU, the MUN Student Union?
Oh my. Well, it's actually a funny story there, Max. A good question. Glad you asked. So, it actually started, unfortunately, last year when I was with my residents. We got put off campus due to a really bad contract with the university through housing in terms of upgrading our residents. And what happened was actually that we're so far off campus. We had a really bad experience with like trying to meet people and stuff. And when we came back on campus, there was no actual help, and we didn't even see an inch of our student union. So come general election time, I actually spoke out, like angry and frustrated with the reception I had coming to university, and I was only met by, well, like, why didn't you run? Why didn't you run? And not having actually seen any actual advertisements, I waited into the first opportunity that I could. And the second I saw the first opportunity that I could possibly enter into an election, which was the by-election in November, I ran. And that's actually how I got involved with MUNSU.
And so, yeah, Brendon ran and was elected as the residence rep for the union, and has been articulating. He's been very vocal this whole time over the last 6 months, and people definitely feel your presence at these board meetings. And not only does he go to the board meetings, committee meetings, but he is very active with the union, clocking in his hours and doing a lot of work.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that's how I met Brendon, was when he first got elected as res rep. Max introduced me to him, and he's definitely made clear his commitment to bettering the lives of students through student government and the union. I don't know. So
Sense negativity in that voice, Chris.
So Brendon, I don't know. I'm just fucking
Putting on your watch and not paying attention.
So Brendon, why is it that what is it that you like? I don't know, that you love about this, I guess. What is it that keeps you going in this sphere of student activity?
My. Well, I think especially with one of our biggest critics, I think one of our most vocal critics is actually the Muse. And it's nice to have a nice, big, critical, vocal opposition. And the Muse, I find, is our vocal opposition. And in the face of that, if you respond only to that and you're stuck in that little world, you see a lot of cynicism. So I think the only thing that keeps me going in the face of cynicism is, unfortunately, optimism. And I think optimism has been the main driving force, the fact that we can actually make a better union that actually serves and actually goes back to its main thing, where it serves and it represents the student body as a whole. Like, that is the main driving force for me personally.
Good, and it's almost boundless. You can go wherever you want to go with that. What changes do you believe you've helped influence since you've been on the board? What changes have you been involved in, and what changes have you taken on as something that's been really significant and priority as your time on the board?
Well, I think where I really show an actual kind of change was during the bylaw review, which you did sit on, Max, and it was fun sitting in with you on that board meeting. And I mean, it would be actually, should we take a side for a second? It will actually, your presence will actually be very well missed on the board, and
Thanks, man.
It will be very different than really that spot that's kind of vacant. So
Who will ever fill this role?
yeah, who will? Someone has to, right? In terms of changes that I've been able to make was more of a strict change on how we organize ourselves as a union and how we go about our meetings. You can find we call it the suspensory powers in our bylaws, section 2, subsection B, I think. If you want to take a look at that, if anyone wants to go through the headache of actually reading the bylaws in our constitution, it's a nice little document. But I actually did change from, it was actually a really bad cop-out. It was like, members should do their best at achieving said and said goal, and I actually changed it to they have to do this. So like, the wording is they must do this, which is a huge change. It means like if they're going to pursue something, not only do they have to do it, there's no leeway in between, which is what I was achieving, and it was very well achieved, and that's good.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it doesn't leave, that wording doesn't leave anything open to interpretation.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it's supposed to do.
And I like what you said about the Muse too. I think it is really good to have that opposition there. And
someone has to be, right?
Yeah, and I think that the Muse, no matter what MUNSU's sort of general policies were, the Muse would be the opposite. If MUNSU was against education is right, the Muse would be for it.
Can I speak on that?
Authors of the Muse.
I'm actually not affiliated with the Muse, and I know you guys are coming into next year, but fine, whatever, go ahead. But the Muse, to me, I don't think it's an agenda they set. And I think that's something important that students should recognize, is that they're not meant to be cynical. They see problems that they find are very evident in our culture as a university, and they speak out on it. And that's good. We should have that. I don't think, I think I see a lot of comments online sometimes saying like, they have a right-wing agenda, and I don't think that's fair to them as a service in our university. So, in their defense, as a board member on MUNSU, even come back as a larger position next year, even moving on up. The old Jeffersons? Anyways. As a board member moving on up in the ranks, and who's so invested in this institution that I believe so heavily in, and you can't deter me. I believe that having this is good, and they're not a agenda-setting organization.
And just to speak to that for a second, I mean, the Muse is composed of a lot of different writers, and no one writer is the Muse. So people like Robert Lehman write for the Muse, who are very like friendly.
One person paints it for everyone, right? That's
sometimes, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Particularly sometimes in the editorials.
It takes one bad person.
The editorials, and I mean, I guess the stories that they chase in general. Some of the people, I get where you're coming from. I think the Muse is great. I think most of their little exposés and the way that they talk about most of the things they talk about is pretty on point.
Or the people of the Muse. The Muse is not one
most of the things spoken about in the Muse by different people.
I just say that because on MUNSU, right? I don't like when people say like MUNSU thinks this and MUNSU thinks that.
That's true, right?
And every single member is an aspect of that union voice, and every single board member more particularly.
Max, I think as a former board member, you can admit that there is.
Brandon, we got to get you to back away from the mic a little bit, just because you're being a little loud.
Yeah. I think Max, as someone who has been on the board before, you can admit that there is actual opposition to every thing we put forth.
Absolutely, and people need to. Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna ask you, Brendon, two different ways. Kind of, what would you have told old Brendon Dixon back in the past, and how have you learned from your experiences with MUNSU?
Yeah. And let's not forget too close to the mic. You got me all excited.
That's okay. It happens a lot.
Every time I talk about MUNSU, it's so exciting.
We do the same thing.
We're an exciting group of guys.
Yeah. In terms of old Brendon, not to get cynical, because old Brendon used to be very cynical about what he did, And now that I've grown into the person I've become, it's just optimism. There's change incoming. There's a horizon. As that old Batman quote goes, Harvey Dent, God help him. It was the dawn. It is darkest before the dawn. And once the dawn comes up, everything's bright and happy. We can all dance hand in hand in rainbows and
Seems really fulfilling to you.
Right? Yeah. Well, it's just all about optimism. If I was to put in one word, optimism.
Nice. That's a good. I mean, that's a great way to look at it. That's the best way to look at anything, I guess, is to look at it from the most optimistic standpoint available to you. So what kind of things do you think have been some of the biggest things that you've learned throughout your time on the Students' Union, and maybe what do you think you'd like to continue to learn?
You know what's unfortunate?
I don't.
I actually had kind of like a mentor on this board. I don't know if I'm allowed saying names, but they told me they taught me a very valuable lesson. It was not to be more careful with how I speak. To be careful with how I speak. To not try to just be myself, but try to appeal to others. You know, to care what others think. And I think that's been really important. It's an unfortunate fact that we have to care what we have to pander so much to what every single board member thinks, because if not, we lose them to I guess what has been often described as a hive mind mentality on this board of directors. And you know what? I can point to various pieces that we've passed that have been like this.
Yeah, and I like how you said you need to appeal to everyone, because I think a lot of people are.
I don't know. Does the mention want to come forth?
Are on the same. No, I'm not. I'm just gonna add to it a little bit.
Okay, so it is Max.
I'm just gonna say, like, when you say that, it's because a lot of times, like, people like myself and Brendon found each other not necessarily like outright and explicitly. It's almost like Radio One. Can I post quickly?
Max actually pitted someone against me in my very first race without even knowing me, and only after did I win did he actually, like, we talked, and it was kind of like, oh, you put someone against me. Kind of fun fact.
Nobody puts anybody against anybody on MUNSU, Brendon. That's so crazy.
That sounds like slating, which is definitely not allowed.
And appealing to people. Sometimes people have the same impulses and they have the same goals in mind, but it's not until everybody can kind of start getting involved in those goals cooperatively, and appealing to everyone. So,
but you know what that takes? Communication is actually very essential, and it takes an open line. It talks going a different way, 'cause it's a two-way street both ways. If you want to open a line with someone, you have to not only initiate it, but you have to keep it up. You have to maintain a line of communication, and I think that's what we've actually lacked in our union this year, is that line of communication. Because telling someone there's an event 2 or 3 hours before it actually happens is not okay.
All right, I think that if you're referring to the Joel Plaskett thing,
or the popcorn thing. The popcorn thing that you see today was fairly misrun by the board.
Well, I think
heaven forbid the people didn't get their popcorn.
No, heaven forbid. There was one director, or maybe two directors, because there was one director who put a lot of time in.
Well,
because there's no one else around.
Exactly, and I think what you're talking about. I mean, there's two things. There's communication and communication management, and making sure that there's follow through with communication, and making sure the communication is two-way. It's one thing to communicate, which is what we're doing right now, and I communicate with myself all day in my own head, and it's fine. But it's communication management, and it's being able to follow through with the communication.
Definitely.
I'm going to ask something a little bit more broad.
Love that.
Open-ended.
So my professors are for, right?
So Brendon, if you had an opportunity, we've asked for, if you had the opportunity, if you knew that every single undergrad at this union was listening to you right now, Brendon, what would you say to that person?
Those people.
In terms of what?
Those peoples.
In terms of what?
In terms of your
if you wanted to have one...
Well, I mean, you can relate it to your position as director at large next year. You can just relate it to general optimism, I guess. That's kind
You
of
said optimistic, but optimism.
your brand.
Keep rolling. Yeah, keep rolling with this. Yeah.
Say whatever you want. Everyone at MUN's hearing you right now. Make that assumption.
Okay, fine.
They're all listening for the first
Right.
time ever.
So what would you ever?
I'd rather have a good summer break. I would.
That's really nice.
You know what I would say to them though? Seriously, on a serious note, we have a union. It's here for you. Learn more about it. Get involved. Be optimistic, because there's no reason you shouldn't be. Yes, fine. There are bad people in unions sometimes, as there are with any other organization. There's no reason to not, be interested. So be interested. Take the time to get to know what we do for you, and learn how you can take advantage of it. Because there are so many things you can take advantage of as an individual. So why not? Why not? There's a reason to be optimistic. There are reasons to be happy that you are a part of something that's bigger. We have some of the biggest activists who have been a part of our union. So why not be a part of the tradition? You like tradition? Be a part of the tradition. You can be involved. So there's plenty of optimism to go around, and it's rightfully so. I mean, if you're someone who likes services, there are services for you. If you're someone who likes causes, we have causes. Just take the time. Look it up. It's a two-way street, and you are the union. You, the people of MUN, Memorial University, are the union.
All right, awesome. That's
Yeah.
great stuff, Brendon. Yeah, no, definitely get involved with your union. There's a lot that they can do for you. Now, Brendon, we've got one more thing. You had a little announcement, and then we've got a fun little thing we're gonna do.
We wish we could keep you on a little bit longer tonight, but we are running out of time. But we do need to get to our inauguration.
Oh my!
The oath of office. So, what's your announcement first of all?
Okay, so are you talking about the Facebook thing that I posted a few? For those who have me on Facebook or Twitter, my grandfather, Brendon Hickey, is actually running for a city council position in Bathurst, New Brunswick. And actually, he just confirmed it with me that he is actually going to run, and I will be actually managing his campaign.
That is awesome.
This is just another example of getting involved in your student politics can, further increase your interest in getting something, involved in maybe municipal politics.
And so why should members of this district vote for your grandfather?
I think there's only 3 or 4 people actually on campus. But why? Because in the face of corruption and other numerous problems, my grandfather is someone who's been with the community and is actually a very nonsense person, and I think that's where I get a lot of that from. And
I think you're full of nonsense.
Full of nonsense.
No, I'm just joshing.
He's someone who will listen, and he loves talking to you. He loves talking more than I love talking.
How?
How exactly?
And
right?
how?
But he will be a very good voice for the people of Bathurst, and I totally believe that.
I like that. So because this is our last show, it is really important that we get Brendon Dixon on to do an appropriate passing of the torch, as I am outgoing and he's ingoing.
Yeah, so Max now is gonna he's gonna pass the torch to Brendon. He's going to administer him a little director at large oath of office that we
Chris, what am I swearing on?
that we wrote up. Oh, you're gonna swear when I'll grab the book.
And it'll be more so
book? Okay, that's cool.
as everyone out there knows, I am your outgoing, fearless director at large leader, and I will now be
Adam Smith. The wealth. Adam.
I will now be participating with Brendon in the oath of office. So, Brendon, could you please repeat after me? I, Brendon Shipley Dixon, do solemnly swear.
I, Brendon Shipley Dixon, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute
the office of Director at Large of the MUNSU Board.
That I will faithfully execute the
office of the Director at Large of the MUNSU Board.
Office of the MUNSU Director at Large.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the very best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and bylaws of the MUN Students Union.
the Constitution and the bylaws of the MUN Students Union Constitution.
And we wish you the best of luck, Brendan. This has been an honor and a pleasure to have you serving by my side, and I know the union's going to be in good hands, I hope.
Empty space.
So thanks for coming on, and we're going to be going to our break. Brendon Dixon, everyone.
Thanks, Brendan.
Thank you, guys.